What is this big for? What's so? What is big?
Rabotai, good evening. Tonight we're going to discuss, this is Gimel Cheshvan, so we're going to discuss the Yortzeit, the death anniversary of Moreno Rabbeinu, Posek Kador, Rishon LeZion, Rosh Moatzeh Chachamim of Eretz Israel, the whole world. I want to tell you that Maran Rabbi Shalom, you should know that he's the most influential rabbi of our generation in many, many ways. You can't even imagine. Number one, first of all, in halacha, in terms of the Sephardi Jews, whether it's Bukharians, or it's Persians, or Georgians, or Moroccans, or Iraqis, or whatever it is, all these Sephardi communities, they all almost 100% go like Maran, like his rulings in halacha. So we have to discuss that, by the way, why his rulings became so accepted, in halacha. That today, pretty much, you can't go left and right without opening up one of those books today. Why is it? I'll tell you an interesting story, by the way. You know the chief rabbi of Russia, who he is? What's his name?
Lazar.
Right. So this chief rabbi of Russia, he one day somebody came to his office and he asked him a question, halacha. Yeah? People come to rabbis, ask them, what about this? Is it allowed to do that? So what did he do? They told me, right? Somebody told me. He was there at the office there. He pulled out one of the rabbi's books, Maran, and he told him, here, he's Ashkenazi. But still, these books are so influential today. They're everywhere. The rabbi's books are everywhere. You go to any Beit Knesset in the world, whether it's North America, South America, Europe, Middle East, they're everywhere. His books are everywhere. There's no Beit Knesset today which doesn't have his books. Upstairs, downstairs, everywhere. So we have to discuss that a little bit, right, to understand why is it that the rabbi's rulings became so accepted. But before we discuss that, I want to get into something a little bit more fundamental, which is, as we started to mention in an hour ago inside the shul there, we started to mention one thing, right? In Pirkei Avot it says like this, right? Ehov et hamelacha v'heveh senet harabanut. What does that mean? Pirkei Avot, it says that a person should love to labor, to toil, and should hate to be a chief. Shouldn't love to be a chief. What does that mean? Head, president, vice president, this kind of thing. So, what's the reason, by the way, for that? So the Chazal say, "Arabanut koveret et ba'aleha." You know what that means? That being a chief makes you pretty much kills you. It's a death penalty. It's a death sentence. What's the reason for that? So, give you an example, right? Story to give you an example of why that is. They say that Yosef HaTzadik, he was the king of Mitzrayim. He was the head honcho over there. You know what I mean? So, how long did he live, Yosef HaTzadik? He lived 110 years. But the big tzaddikim of our people, what's the magic number for us? The tzaddikim, 120. So the question is, why didn't he make it to 120? Yosef HaTzadik. Stress. Very good. Take a Valium, something like that, right? Whatever. So, what's the reason why? So the Chazal says something really shocking. Because Yosef HaTzadik was a chief, was a king over there, he acted with his brothers a little bit in a snobbish manner in one instance. This is the reason why he lost 10 years of his life. He became a little bit, arrogant with them. What was the arrogance that he displayed? It was something so minor, you probably laugh, right? So they say that when they were having this discussion between Yehuda and Yosef, arguing back and forth regarding if Binyamin was going to be kept as a slave over there or not, they're going to take him back, they're going to release him, this, that, all kinds of things. They're having a discussion about that. So what happens is, right, that they're telling Yosef like this, our servant, your servant, our father, So he didn't object to that, right? He allowed them to say like that. So because of that, he lost 10 years of his life. That's what it says in the Chazal.
How did he respond?
So what does that mean? That he acted arrogantly.
He accepted.
Right, exactly, accepted it. That was, for him, that was arrogance. On a person on that level, that was considered to be arrogance. Besides that, we don't find anything that he did. But all the more so, right, when you have somebody who was an arrogant leader, who was very, very tough and somewhat unfair and somewhat corrupted. So what happens is, and also he speaks with people, in a very arrogant manner, condescending, patronizing. We know people like that. I don't want to mention any names, right? We know people like this. So what happens there? What happens is that people don't like that. They don't like to be talked down to. So what they do is they put eyes on this person. They say, well, who are you to talk to me like that? What do you think, you're my boss? That's because you're the president, and what makes you, gives you the right to talk down to me? So because of that, they curse him, sometimes. They put evil eye on him. All kinds of things like this, and because of that, he dies early.
Now, Rabbi, talking down, I apologize.
Yeah.
What if you're the king or you're the boss or whatever? You have the right to tell people what to do.
Right. In certain things.
Yes. I mean,
but you can't tell them what to do in their house. You know what I mean?
No.
There's a line. There's a red line there. You can't cross the line. And also, it depends on how you talk to them. You know what I mean? A good leader. What's a sign of a good leader? He doesn't treat people like they're his slaves. He treats them like their slave.
Humble.
Right, humility. You make them feel like you're just, like one of the guys.
I see.
Or even below them. So when people see a leader like this, they like that. They like a humility,
Some people take advantage of it, though.
By the way, you should know that this is the reason why the president is suffering so much from this impeachment and all this. What's really his problem? He's actually a very good man. He's a very good man. He's a good politician. He's very successful. He's doing very well. So what's his problem? The problem is the way he talks to people. People don't like the way that he talks to them. You know that, right? The attitude they don't like. Some people can tolerate that. I personally don't mind it. If he would talk to me that way, I wouldn't mind. But there are some people, who get offended by it.
Yeah, but he only seems to talk to people who attack him.
Yeah, there's there's a rationale. Absolutely. There's a rationale there. Yeah, there's a rationale. He's a very smart man. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, people don't like to be talked to like that from anybody.
I think
They don't want that.
Be nice.
You know what I mean?
I think he's trying.
They don't want to be called these names, these nicknames. They don't want these derogatory, things, like this, to be called like that. They say, by the way, the Chazal, you should know, there's something to learn from there. This is the reason why I'm saying it. They say the Chazal that even if you know a person who's a Rasha, don't treat him in a derogatory manner. Embarrass him in public like that. Because that makes him even worse. It makes him even hate you more. You understand? So a person has to know that there's a way to talk to people. Just because a person is a sinner or he's, like a person who's not legitimate, nevertheless, you can't disgrace him. Treat him with respect. Because if you do, you'll bring him closer to the good side. But if you try to denigrate him,
even if they've been trying to destroy you since you walked down the escalator, announced that you were going to be running.
That's what they call, right? The Americans, what they call that, right? You have to be presidential. There is such a thing like that. So this is really the problem with the president. You understand? This is really the problem. The problem is not because he's a very good politician. He's very successful. He's a good man. He's a God-fearing man. But the way he treats people, they can't tolerate it. You understand? I personally don't mind it. I think it's very cute. I think it's very, I think it's very, it's sweet. For me, it's a sweet thing, but some people don't like that. Some people can't tolerate that. So what happens is that now they want to impeach him. You know why? Because they hate him. They hate him so much. So this is exactly what happens to a person who's a leader.
I don't think they hate him only for that. I think they hate him.
Okay, you're right. But the truth is,
yeah.
the truth is that if you act in a nice way to people, they can tolerate your greatness. But when you talk down to them and denigrate them, they start to have a gripe with you. They get a chip on their shoulder, and they'll never forgive you. They'll chase you for the rest of your life. This is how people are today. They're very, very stubborn, very, very vengeful. So this is why the sages say that a person should not try to be a chief of anything. Why? Because you're hurting yourself. Don't look to be a leader, to be a president, vice president. What do you need that for? Be a private person, be a private individual, private citizen. Take care of your family, take care of your life. What else do you need? Why look for this stuff? So if that's the case, and now I'll ask you a question, right? Maran Rabbi Ovadia, he took all kinds of positions. What position did he take? First of all, he was chief rabbi of Tel Aviv. Then he became chief rabbi of Israel. These are very big positions. This is like big time. You know what I mean? There's no bigger position like that today in Rabbanut and rabbi as a rabbi. This is a big position. So why did he take them? You know what I mean? So you know what the answer is, right? The answer is that he was forced to do that. Exactly like you say. Who forced him? Yeah, exactly. What happened was like this, right? That the rabbi, when he was young, in his 20s, he gathered a group of people. Where was this? In the Shkunat Beit Israel, in the Beit Israel neighborhood, and also in the Bukharian quarter. This is where he started his career, the rabbi. Over there, he started to teach people. He would go to every shul, one shul at a time, and give a lecture in each one. Darashi, over here. Hopping from one shul to another. Shul hopping. That's what he was doing. And he took these people who were simple Jews, knew nothing about Judaism, zero knowledge. All they knew was how to come there with a siddur, Baruch Hu et Hashem HaMavarach, that's it, right? That's about it. Kaddish, Amen, Yesh Merabah. That's about it. Your average.
Okay,
yeah.
Right.
He took these people. Who were these people, by the way? Most of them were Persian Jews. And also some Bukharians also there. The Bukharians were also, their shuls were in this program, you understand? Most of the shuls that were run by Bukharians. What are we talking about? We're talking about Borokhov, shuls like this, right? Musayov, and these famous centers over there in these places in the Bukharian quarter. That's where the rabbi started his career. He took these people and he would teach them. And he was very serious with them, He would start out with them in a very slow manner. What does that mean? Telling them nice stories, nice fables, nice this, Sweet stuff, sweet, like sugar, like honey, like David likes, this kind of stuff, right? These nice stories. And he started like that. But once he would pull them in like that, then he would get to them, difficult stuff. Deep halachot, complicated things. So he took them like this, little by little, he pulled them in. And he made them into B'nai Torah. What does that mean? He turned them into knowledgeable, Jews, very knowledgeable, very expert in halakha. You know what he used to do with them? He used to test them also. He would give them exams. Every month, they would get a test. Written test. Coming in, you have to fill in the blanks. This, that, right? He would test them also. What happened was that these Jews, who were totally ignorant, he made them into B'nai Torah. And these people, their sons, now became, even on a higher level, they went to yeshiva, he sent them to yeshivot, and they became like rabbis, So a lot of these rabbis today that are, in Israel, came from these families that the rabbi trained them, their fathers, to become religious and so forth and so on. So they were like a chain reaction. He made like a reaction like this, you understand? I want to tell you an interesting story about this. Rabbi Mutzafi, alav shalom, Shlita, he's still alive. There's also another one, his father, who's passed away, but he's still alive. He's a big chacham. So Rabbi Mutzafi, what he told us? He says that him and Chacham Yaakov, who was the son of the rabbi, alav shalom, he's already passed away. What happened was that they used to go with the rabbi on Shabbat. And the rabbi used to hop from one shul to another and give a darash, a shiur, a lecture, in these shuls. This Bukharian shul over here, this Persian shul over here, like this, this kind of thing. So what happened was that they followed him that day to see where he goes. So he says, we counted in one Shabbat, how many lectures did he give? 12 lectures on one Shabbat. Can you imagine? When does he eat? When does he sleep? When does he take care of his body? Can you imagine giving 12 lectures on one Shabbat? This is the rate that the rabbi was spreading Torah, like this, at a very feverish rate. Exponentially growing Torah in Jerusalem. He started over there. As we mentioned inside, what happened was he was doing this for several years like this. And he got a big name for himself over there in Jerusalem. You understand? He was like, the traveling rabbi, coming in, giving you, like this, right? So what happened was that several years later, came to him Rabbi Ezrati, alav shalom. It was the Rosh Yeshiva Prat Yosef. This is the big Sephardi yeshiva in Israel, in Jerusalem. This is the big top-notch yeshiva over there. So what happened was they told him, this was his rabbi, Rabbi Ezrati. He told him, he says, you have to go and become chief rabbi of Tel Aviv. This is your next mission. You did already, whatever you did over here, you did. That's it, right? Now, next phase. Go to Tel Aviv, become chief rabbi. So what happened was that the rabbi told him, he says, but I'm taking care of these people over here. Who's going to do my job? Who's going to take care of these people? So he told him, he says, you have more important things to do. If you go to be the chief rabbi in Tel Aviv, over there you're going to save many, many big problems over there from happening. What does that mean? Then in those days, the Rabbanut was very mismanaged, It was like corruption over there, all kinds of, nonsense. You know what I mean? And also all kinds of mistaken things were going on also. You understand? Also, especially for the Sephardim. Yeah, this is Jewish, yeah. Yeah, so what happened was that he told him you have to go in there and make order. Straighten it out over there. Go in, take care of everybody over there. So he did it, he got elected over there. He got elected to be chief rabbi of Tel Aviv. So what happened was that he started to give lectures over there in Tel Aviv. And Tel Aviv was a very difficult town to give lectures, because over there people were like staunchly secular, over there. It wasn't like Jerusalem. Jerusalem, people are traditional, traditional Sephardi Jews, Bukharians, Persians, people like this, you know what I mean? He was also going, by the way, to one of the Georgian shuls. You know which one this was? There's a Georgian shul in Geulah, in one of the neighborhoods of Jerusalem. Who was the rabbi there? You know who was the rabbi there? There was one of the famous Georgian rabbi. You know what his name was, right? Moshe Katan. You know who that was? They called him Moshe Katan. This was Rabbi Moshe Davarashvili. Yeah, right. Moshe Katan. He was a little guy, Yeah? He was also a humble guy. That's why they called him Katan. Patara, So, this Moshe Katan, by the way, he was the biggest chacham of the Georgians. Nobody was a real chacham like him. They say that he was the number one. So this Moshe Katan, you know who he learned with? Who was his rabbi? Can you take a guess?
Moshe Gadol.
Ah, you're close, but no cigar. You know who his rabbi was? The Chafetz Chaim was his rabbi.
Wow.
Yeah. Moshe Katan learned with the Chafetz Chaim himself.
When did Chafetz Chaim pass away?
This was before World War II, in 1933, 1934, something like that. All the big rabbis passed away before World War II. That's what happened. So one of the rabbis told me in Jerusalem, I spoke with him, this Rabbi Hager, who was a Dayan over there. You know what he told me? He said, this Georgian rabbi, Moshe Katan, he was a Talmid of the Chafetz Chaim, as I told you. Not only that, he said, they used to sleep in the same bed, those two. They were so poor, they didn't have two beds. They used to sleep in one bed. Can you imagine sleeping with the Chafetz Chaim in one bed? Something unbelievable. This is something, like you never dreamed something like that. Such a holy man like this, Chafetz Chaim, in one bed with him. This is something unbelievable.
He studied with him, or Chafetz Chaim was his teacher?
Both. Yeah. We're not talking about grade school teacher. We're talking about he became a rabbi with him.
Okay, so they were the same age. They were becoming rabbis at the same
No, Chafetz Chaim was older than him.
So Chafetz Chaim was his professor or teacher.
He was his rebbe,
His rebbe.
Yeah, he was his rebbe. Yeah, sure. So this Moshe Katan, that shul that they used to have over there, the Georgian shul. By the way, now there's nobody there anymore. You know why? Because all the Georgians moved out of that neighborhood a long time ago. They migrated, and now the shul is empty.
Where they migrated?
They went to other neighborhoods, like Neve Yaakov. They went to here. They spread out.
In Yerushalayim.
Yeah, also outside of
civilization.
Jerusalem, right? Neve Yaakov. There's also another neighborhood which is called Pisgat Zev. They went over there. All kinds of neighborhoods over there. So what happened was that that shul, the rabbi Rabbi Shalom Maran, he used to give a lecture over there as well. When they say, which time he used to give a shiur over there? On Shabbat HaGadol. Right, he used to go over there on Shabbat HaGadol and give it every time at the Georgian shul like that. He used to give a shiur over there. He used to go, so he went everywhere. See, he covered every community. He was everywhere. He was running from one place to another, spreading Torah like this. This is the way he started out. Then later on, there was also another job. Once he finished his job in Tel Aviv, he spread Torah over there a lot. He was giving lectures all over the place over there, going to this shul, going to that shul. There was also synagogues over there in Tel Aviv. He was going to each one, spreading Torah over there. This is, by the way, this is a real rabbi. You know what his son told us, Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef, the chief rabbi. He says, what's a real rabbi? You know what he told me? A real rabbi who's somebody who's giving lectures all the time. Non-stop. It's a sign of a real rabbi. You have to be spreading Torah physically with your body, with your mouth, with your hands. If you're not doing that, you're not a real rabbi. You're a fake rabbi. This is what it's all about. A person, somebody who was elected to be a rabbi somewhere, you know, they took him as a job in a community, in a certain neighborhood, in a certain town. He has to be going all over the place and spreading Torah. That's the job of a rabbi. This is exactly what the rabbi did, everywhere he went, he spread Torah. He went to Tel Aviv, he made over there killing. He brought many people to Tshuva. These people, by the way, who did Tshuva in Tel Aviv, eventually they got on a higher level, they moved to Yerushalayim, they came very close with Rabbi Shalom. So what happened was that this job he took, not because he wanted to take this job. He wasn't looking for honor.
It was forced.
Exactly. The rabbi told him he must do it. That's it. When the rabbi tells you to do something, you have to listen to him. This is the way of the Torah. You know, the way of the Torah is not, Rabbi, I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm sorry, I can't listen to you. You don't understand. He understands. You don't understand because you're not Talmid Chacham. What? How do you? So what? You want to go according to your understanding? So then, what do you need a rabbi for? The whole point of the rabbi is you have to rely on his understanding. That's the idea, right? So he listened to his rabbi. He went to Tel Aviv. Then he came back to Yerushalayim. Right? Came back to start it up again, right over there. This is his activities. So then, you know what they told him this time? Some people came to him and they said, "You have to become chief rabbi of Israel now." Rishon LeZion. Who pushed him into this? You know who pushed him in? It wasn't Rabbi Ezratia. It was somebody else. You know who it was? It was Ashkenazim. So what happened over there? You want to know? You know what happened? The Ashkenazim, some big rabbis, big Chachamim. You know Ashkenazim. They came to the rabbi. They told him. They said, listen, you have to become chief rabbi. So the rabbi told him, "Why? There's always Sephardi chief rabbi. Why do I have to take his place?" So he says, but that rabbi said, we can't get along with him. He doesn't communicate with us. He doesn't cooperate with us. He's a tough, bad boy. We can't deal with him. This guy. So he says, you gotta take him out and take his place.
Do you know the name?
Yeah, this was Rabbi Nissim.
Rabbi Nissim?
Rabbi Nissim, yeah. He was one of the chief rabbis. They wanted to get Rabbi Nissim out, the Ashkenazim. So they brought the rabbi to replace him. What does that mean? That there was elections over there. You understand? And they told him, you go against him in the elections and you get him out. So what happened was when the rabbi heard this, he was like in shock. You want me to remove this rabbi from being chief rabbi? What gives me the right to do that? You understand? So actually what he did was he went and he asked a big chacham about this. If he's allowed to do that at all. This is it's pretty nasty stuff. It's nasty. Can you imagine? They just go, get this rabbi out and get me in. This is considered to be very, very provocative behavior. You understand? So he went to Rabbi Eliashiv. Exactly, chutzpah, yeah. So he went to Rabbi Eliashiv, who was the big chacham, one of the big chachamim, and Rabbi Eliashiv answered him, "You must take this rabbi out and take his job." Yeah. That's how he paskined.
He was that bad.
Yeah. So what does that mean? Why? For what? Because he says this rabbi doesn't cooperate. He doesn't allow us to do our job. He's doing all kinds of tricks with us, playing all kinds of games. He's bad. He doesn't allow us to do our job. So we have to remove this guy. So Rabbi Eliashiv said, "You know what? It's a mitzvah for you to go and remove this guy." That's exactly what happened. So, because this Rabbi Eliashiv was such a big rabbi like that, he listened to them, and he went and he did it. He got him out. That's what they did. So again, right, we find the same thing, that the rabbi was forced into this as well, by other rabbis. He never was looking to get any of these kinds of positions or all kinds of things like this. A person shouldn't be looking for that. That's the idea, So the rabbi was never guilty of that. He never looked for any position. He only did these things because the circumstances forced him into the situation. That was the idea, So Maran, this was one of his. I wanted to explain to you, right, that you shouldn't think that he was, looking for, for a show, looking for, fame and kavod, and no, he was never looking for that. A person should not be looking for that. And this is the way of the Torah, by the way. You should know. The way of the Torah is that a person should not be looking for that. So what should you be looking for? Go and spread Torah. If you're a rabbi, if you're a chacham, go and spread Torah. Don't look to get a position. You know what I mean? Don't look to be a chief rabbi, this and that. Just go and do your job. You know, that's what you should do. Why are you looking for all kinds of things? You know, to make some maneuvers. You know, the politics. This, get into here, get into there. For what? What do you need this thing for? This hurts you, as we said, right? A person who's looking to be a chief, it hurts himself. You know, it hurts himself. This is the idea of it. I want to tell you also another interesting thing about the Rabbi Chacham. I told Jimmy there's going to be some surprises. Right? So I want to tell you what level the rabbi got to, alav shalom. How great was he in Torah, in terms of the way people looked at him, you know, the way he was regarded. So he used to come to him to get advice from the rabbi. Amongst many other people, the politicians used to come to him. You know, the leaders, the so-called leaders, right, quote unquote, right? Yeah. So what happened was like this. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So who's the prime minister before he came to Rabbi Yosef? I forgot his name.
Yeah. Of course. I'll explain to you what happened. When the rabbi was chief rabbi of Israel, you know what happened? This was the time of the Entebbe thing. You know, remember the story? They made a movie about it. You know, right? This was before his time. This was before you were born.
2001.
You know what I mean? Way before that.
What's the whole thing about?
We're talking about like the 70s. Something like that, right? 73. Yeah. What happened was that there were some Israelis who were kidnapped. Athletes, right? Yeah. They're not athletes, okay, right? It was a different story, right? Oh, right, exactly, yes.
They went to Uganda.
Right, there was a flight that was hijacked, yeah. You're right. So what happened was the flight was hijacked, and yeah, something like that. So what happened was they were being held captive in a country, Uganda, right, which is Idi Amin over there, right? This guy, right? Right. So what happened was that they were thinking, the politicians over there, who was the prime minister at that time? Rabin. Yeah. Rabin was the prime minister. Rabin was a tough guy, this guy. He was tough as nails, you know? He was general, you know? This guy was tough. So what happened was that he was thinking to make some kind of operation to save these people, you know? To bring them back. And this was a very difficult operation. Very hard, like almost impossible, you know? Required like a miracle, basically. This is what it was.
Yeah, it's a miracle.
So they were considering, you know, going back, deliberating back and forth. Should we do it? Should we not do it? Whatever. So Rabin sends this question to Rav Ovadia, who was the chief rabbi at that time. He says, should we do it or not? He says, you're a chief rabbi. Tell us your advice. That's what happened. So once the rabbi got this question, he asked them to provide the details. You know, what's going to be done? How is it going to be done? This, right? To fill in all the blanks. You know what I mean? Once they explained to him, they sent somebody like a general, to explain to them everything. You know, every little detail, what they're going to do. So once the rabbi heard all these things, he said, you should do it. You know, go for it. He liked it, you know. They sold him. He was sold on it. It succeeded, you know. This operation, which was something unbelievable. So, this was one of the things that the rabbi gave the okay for this. He was the one who gave the advice to go on this. They asked him.
Blessing.
Not blessing. This was a halachic decision. You know, halakha. Yeah. Everything in this you do in life has a halakha. You know, should I go here? Should I go there? Everything is halakha. You know what halakha means, right? In Hebrew, what does halakha mean? To go. Halakha means to go. So what does it mean? Holech. What does it mean? Holech. I go. Halakha is going. So what does that mean?
Law.
Din, right? Din is law.
Is also the law.
Right, but halakha, literally speaking, right, means going.
Okay.
Yeah. So what does that mean? It's coming and telling you everything you do when you go, you should have to do according to halakha, according to the law. Every movement you make, every turn you make, every shift, everything you do has halakha. So here also, this was a psak halakha that he made to them. He gave them psak halakha, do the operation. That was number one. Later on, there was also other issues that came up that were very similar to this, right? And they were seeking also, again, his advice, many years later. When was this? This was during the peace process, right? What happened was that now Rabin came back again. Rabin had to quit, by the way. He had to resign. There was a scandal that came with his family, some kind of money scandal. He resigned. So he came back in the 90s. This was in 92, right? Something like that. 92, 93. Rabin was elected again to be prime minister, second time. This time was a peace process, to give the lands over to the Arabs or not to give the lands over, right? All that stuff. So the rabbi was for it under circumstances, to give the land over to the Arabs, under circumstances. There were also many rabbis who were against it. Who did they listen to in the end? They listened to the rabbi. Yeah, you know why? Because he told them there are certain circumstances that we can do it. What's the reason why, by the way? You should know. What's the reason why he allowed them to do that? You know why? Because he knew that the pressure from the Goyim was too great. And if we wouldn't give in to their demands, they would do to us something even worse. It was going to become like a tragedy. They were going to do all kinds of sanctions on us, all kinds of operations, all kinds of things. He knew that things were coming very, very bad. So therefore he knew that the only way to assuage this movement of the Goyim that were going against us was to give in something to them. So therefore he paskened, he ruled in halacha that we should give them something. Even though they gave more than he wanted to give, in the end they gave more. He didn't agree to everything. But nevertheless, it was his decision also here. Now I'll tell you another one. Right? Which is the next decision that we're talking about? When it comes to Sharon. Right? When it came to Sharon came out of Gaza, right? He did the withdrawal over there. So the rabbi didn't agree with that. He told the Sharon, you're doing something very foolish. You know why? Because you're not making a deal with them. You're just going and removing people, removing the settlements, not getting anything in return. There's no peace settlement, no contract, no nothing. So the rabbi told Sharon, don't do that. He didn't listen to him. In the end, it became a tragedy, right? You know what happened over there. They uprooted those people over there, and then the Hamas took over Shemirachem, right? The rockets are coming until this day from there. You want to hear the last one, which is the biggest surprise? Just came out recently, by the way, that this happened. You know what happened? What happened was that Bibi, right? This was about 8 years ago. Bibi was thinking to bomb in Iran. To bomb Iran. To get rid of their nuclear installments. He was thinking about that. At that time, Obama was the president, right? So Obama, what did he tell Bibi? He said, listen, Obama told him, if you really want to do it, I personally think you shouldn't do it. Obama told him. If you want to do it, you can do it, but if there's going to be repercussions about that, it's your fault. You're going to pay the price. That's what Obama told him. You want to try it? Go ahead. But I may not be able to defend you after that. I mean, may not have your back. So Bibi was, deliberating back and forth, Should I do it? Should I not do it? No. What happened? In the end, he came to the rabbi. He came to Maran, and I was there when he came there. At that point, I was there. So what happened was he came late night meeting, like after 12 o'clock at night, and he walked into the rabbi. It was a funny story, right? So what happened was that Maran at that time was learning. He's always learning, always learning Torah, the rabbi. So what happened was that Bibi came into the room, and he saw the rabbi. So the rabbi was stunning, and so the rabbi didn't pay attention to him. It's like he ignored him, like he was so much immersed into his books.
Did he notice him, or?
He probably did notice him, but he wanted to give him like a,
Sure, right?
like be a good boy, stay in the corner over there, wait for me. That's the way he behaved to these people. He wasn't too,
Weren't you called it arrogance?
Huh?
Weren't you called it arrogance?
There was a reason why he did that. There was reasons for that, but we have to talk about that. But the point is like this, right? That Bibi. So what happened was that the politician of Shas that brought Bibi in, Eli Shai, he told him, he says, do you want me to interrupt the rabbi and have him talk with you? So Bibi told him, he says, no, let him study. I'll wait. Can you imagine? So he waited for 15 minutes. He waited for 15 minutes until the rabbi looked up from the book. Like this. Up. He looks up. He looks up from the book and he tells him, "Oh, shalom. How are you?" So Bibi sat down there. And at that meeting there was one of the rabbi's attendants was there. His name is Fichakak. He's the one who told the story. So what happened was that Bibi sat down with the rabbi. He said, "Listen, I want to go bomb in Iran." He says, but the problem is that this may cause World War III. You know what I'm talking about? The problem is like this: when you go bomb in a place like that, there's over there the oil straits, Straits of Hormuz. If you block that, the whole economy of the world goes shambles.
Combustible.
It can destroy the whole world. Understand? One little move over there, the block, the stock market will fall. Chain reaction may cause World War III. Gog and Magog. You want to bring Gog and Magog? You're interested? Why not? So he asked the rabbi. He said, "Should we do it or not?"
Is it time to go?
Can you imagine? So the rabbi told him, he said, "Is America going to support you?" So he says, "If something happens, all hell's going to break loose. We're not going to get any support from anybody." So the rabbi, after he heard all these details, he says, "Don't attack." And Bibi did not go. That was what happened. Right? So again, this decision was also made by the rabbi. Abba Shalom. He made this decision. He told Bibi, "Don't go." He says, "It's too dangerous. Because if something happens over there, they block the straits, economy falls, depression, who's going to be blamed? The Jews.
The Jews.
The Jews are the culprits. World War III, Gog and Magog. You ready for Gog and Magog?" So the rabbi said, "I'm not ready for the Gog and Magog. Forget about it. Cancel it. Can it." That's what he told them. So instead, what did they do? They made all kinds of cyber warfare, all kinds of computers, they did all kinds of things to block them. This was better. More safe, safer. They assassinated some people there. So this is what happens, that when a person, I want to explain to you, right, that when a person becomes wise in Torah, everybody comes and seeks his advice. That's what happens. All the politicians are coming to him, all the kings, all the presidents, they want to hear what he has to say about everything. Because the Torah is the ultimate wisdom. The person has to understand that. Same thing also happened when Menachem Begin, he wanted to make peace with Mitzrayim, with Egypt. He came to Lubavitcher Rebbe over here in Brooklyn. He discussed it with him for 3 hours. They sat there. The Rebbe told him not to do it. Right? He kind of he caved in the end. Menachem Begin. He got a little bit weaker. He got a little flimsy over there. But the rabbi told him not to do it. Whatever, you understand? But the point is that you see from there that all the people want the wisdom of the Torah, because they know that the wisdom. They say that Ronald Reagan also, President Reagan, who was one of the great presidents of America, he had a certain question in religion, something about religion. So he didn't know what the answer was. So he asked his people, he says, "Who's the big rabbi in America? I want to go and ask him." So they told him, they said, there's a big rabbi in Manhattan. His name is Moshe Feinstein, he's the big rabbi here in America. So he went and he asked him, a question that he wanted to discuss about religion. So again, you see the same thing, that everybody wants to know the wisdom of the Torah. This is the way it is. The person who has the wisdom of the Torah, everybody wants to hear. But as we said, right, as we mentioned, this was just one of the facets of the rabbi, Abba Shalom. There's great wisdom that everybody wants to get his wisdom. But as we talked about inside, also one of his greatest facets was that he was able to come down to the level of every Jew, no matter how low he was, no matter how simple he was. No Jew was too low for him. So we discussed over there inside about Shimon Peres, and I want to tell you a little bit more deep about this, because there's something very deep to understand about this. Shimon Peres was absolutely secular guy, absolutely chiloni. And he was known to be like a very big trickster, very, very sneaky guy. Very brilliant man, by the way. He was totally brilliant person. You know how brilliant he was? That Ben Gurion, when he founded the country, he wanted to start a nuclear program, to make nuclear weapons for Israel. They should be able to defend, whatever. Who did he put in charge to make the nuclear program? Shimon Peres. He was the one. He told him to go to France, go over here, do some shopping over there, go to the malls over there, get some materials, get this, go there, go here. He was the one who built the nuclear program, Shimon Peres. He was a smart guy, very, very clever guy. Why do I tell you this? Because what happened was that Shimon Peres was considered to be like very secular, liberal politician. But now, you want to hear something really funny about Shimon Peres? That they say that we talked about this Georgian rabbi, right, who was a Talmid of the Chafetz Chaim. Shimon Peres also saw the Chafetz Chaim.
He also slept with Chavetz Chaim?
That slept, they saw him, he met him.
Okay.
He wasn't zocheh to sleep with him. He wasn't holy enough for that. You understand? So what happened was that Shimon Peres, they used to come, when they used to have fundraisers for the yeshivot in Israel, Shimon Peres would show up over there, like he would be there, the fundraisers for the yeshivot. They would ask him, they said, Shimon, what are you doing over here? You're a secular guy, What's it with you and the yeshivot? What business you have with yeshivot? Why are you coming and helping the yeshivot? So what he told them? He said, when I was a child, my father was not religious, but my grandfather was. So he said, my grandfather took me to the Chavetz Chaim to get a blessing. To get a blessing. Can you imagine? So the Chavetz Chaim, he says, he saw me. He saw me, I was a little kid. So you know what he did, the Chavetz Chaim, when he saw him? Unbelievable story. Chavetz Chaim started to cry. So he says, you know what the Chavetz Chaim told him when he started to cry? He said, what did you say?
That such a kid is wasted. Not learning the Torah.
So you know what he told him? He told him like this, Shimon Peres. He told him, a Jewish country, what a shame it is that there should be no Torah over there.
I was close.
You understand? That's what he told him. At that time, there was no country. You understand? But he foresaw with the Ruach HaKodesh. He foresaw the Chavetz Chaim that this guy was going to become one day prime minister. Shimon Peres was prime minister. He was Rosh Hashanah. Understand? So he says, since that day, Shimon Peres told him, since that day that I was with the Chavetz Chaim, he says, I always supported the Torah. When I saw him, and those words they told me, so I don't ever forget that. My whole life. Nevertheless, Shimon Peres was a big troublemaker also. What does that mean? That he also made a big problem for the Jewish people. When was that? This was when Sharon and Begin, they made a war in Lebanon. So what happened was that Sharon was a very nasty general, very nasty, The Arabs were all afraid of him, They said, oh, Sharon, this guy was notorious. So what happened was that he went over there in Lebanon and he pulled some tricks over there, and some Arabs got killed, some innocent people, quote unquote innocent. None of them are innocent, but nevertheless, right? They called them innocent, right? Whatever. So what happened was that once Peres heard about this, what happened over there? There was a massacre that occurred. Understand? You remember the story, right?
There was a massacre.
Yeah, there was a massacre.
Absolutely.
So what happened was that Shimon Peres, he went and he told the whole world that Sharon did this. He squealed on him. He squealed. So, you know what they say right in the Torah? It says in the Shulchan Aruch, what's considered to be one of the worst Jews? The one who goes and informant, right? Informer. He goes and informs on a Jew, a fellow Jew, and he gets him to go to jail, or they kill him, they execute him, or he loses his money. They confiscate his money.
Or Shimon Peres?
I don't know. I don't think so. But anyway, let me tell you something interesting. When he did this deed, Shimon Peres, that he squealed on the Jewish people like this, he informed. He was an informant. Rav Shach was one of the great rabbis of that generation, one of the leaders, Ashkenazi, right? Once he saw that Shimon Peres did this, he never spoke to him again in his life. He said, "You're an informant. You stole the Jewish people. Shame on you." It says in the Shulchan Aruch that a person who does this to the Jewish people, he has no portion in the world to come. So Rav Shach told him, "Listen, don't come to me anymore. My appointment book is too busy for you. I'll never see you again. You're an informant. You lost your portion in the world to come." That's what Rav Shach told him. He wasn't a kid. At that time he was a big politician over there. Understand? So what happens is that Rav Shach doesn't talk to him anymore. But guess who did? Maran Rabbi Shalom. He did talk to him. He used to take him anyway. He used to speak with him. Became friends with him. He little by little pulled him into Judaism. Little by little, even though he was an informant. Yeah? He did a very big sin. He pulled him in little by little, and he made him religious. He made him Shomer Shabbat. That's what happened. Why do I tell you this? Because this shows you something really amazing. That the rabbi was, no matter what a Jew did, how low he went, he still was able to pull him up from there. He never gave up on anybody. This is something really amazing. about the rabbi, shalom. He had this ability, uncanny ability, to go down to the most simple Jew and bring him up, to fish him out of there. To bring him up to, this is what a person has to know, right? If a person is going to become a rabbi, you cannot abandon any Jew. You cannot give up on any Jew. Don't say, oh, this one is too far gone, That's Asuria, He's gone, that's it. No, I won't, that one. Why gone? You can bring him in. Why not? Try. Every Jew deserves. You know why? Because in our generation, people are considered to be Tinok Shenishba. You know what that means? They don't know better. They don't know anything about Judaism. They're innocent. So even though they do some very bad things, nevertheless, a person shouldn't give up on anybody. Try to pull him in. That's the idea. This is what the rabbi did, Shalom. He pulled in Shimon Peres, made him into religious. So, as we said right inside, that Shimon Peres used to come to the rabbi, used to visit him, used to call him Mori Rabbi, right? My rabbi, he says, my rabbi. Can you imagine Shimon Peres has a rabbi? How is that? Because Maran didn't give up on anybody. I'll give you another example, right, to show this point. There was also a certain soccer player, in Israel, they play soccer over there, So, soccer, in Torah terms, it's considered to be like something like a waste of time, to play soccer, especially to watch it. At least to play, you can do exercise. It's good, it's a mitzvah to exercise, to keep your body in shape. That's good. But to watch those games, it's considered like a waste of time. So, the soccer player comes to the Rabbi Shalom, and he tells him, I want to get a blessing from you. That we should beat the other team, from Europe. So the rabbi gave him a blessing, even though he knew that soccer is like a waste of time, like a wasted, thing. How much time do people waste going to these stupid games, baseball, football, this, that, wasting time, wasting money. So the rabbi, nevertheless, he blessed this guy. He says you should be able to, beat your opponents, bless them. So what does that mean? He was able to come down, even to the most simple Jew. Well,
so
very simple,
To be entertained, Rabbi, by any means? Sports?
It's a good question what you're asking regarding entertainment, right? But the truth is, there's something called in halacha, in Jewish law, something called moshav letzim. You know what that means, moshav letzim? Moshav letzim means that a person is doing something which is a waste of time, like it has no benefit. And watching like games is considered to be like one of them, or like watching a movie, or watching a play. There's no benefit to these things. What are you getting from that? Learning some fake story, it's fake. Like you're fooling yourself,
So Hollywood would be condemned.
Yeah, Hollywood is it's a dirty business. I don't have to tell you. You know that very well. Yeah. It's a dirty business over there. They've corrupted many people. These ridiculous movies of theirs. You know how it is, right? I don't have to tell you. But nevertheless, the rabbi was able to come down to the level of all these people. This was the greatness of the Rabbi Shalom. As we already mentioned inside as well, when he was in Tel Aviv as a chief rabbi, this was something amazing that he used to do. He used to take a bus on his own expense, chief rabbi of Tel Aviv, taking a public bus and going from door to door, like in those areas, in Gush Dan, near Tel Aviv, Petach Tikva, those areas, surrounding Tel Aviv, over there, he used to go, knock door to door, like this, strangers, and go into their house, tell them, listen, I'm a rabbi, chief rabbi of Tel Aviv. I want to bring your children into yeshiva. I want to put them into yeshiva. You're interested? You'll tell them, teach them this, teach them that. He used to go door to door like this. Can you imagine what kind of sacrifice is that? The rabbi does this. Most rabbis are comfortable in their, in their position. They're sitting on their desk, with their feet up on the desk, like Obama. You remember that the picture that he had, the feet on the right? You remember that, right? This rabbi was not like that. He used to go out, and bring them in, fish them in. He was very active, very, very, very. He just used to go out there and bring them. So the rabbi used to knock door to door like this, and he took many people like this, thousands of people. He recruited them to go to yeshiva. This is what we need in our neighborhood, somebody like this, because we have here many people who are going to public school. These kids over here, these Bukharian kids, Georgian kids, Persian kids, all kinds of kids over here. We have a problem with them. Most of them are not going because they don't have a place where it's affordable. The money's the problem. So we got to get somebody to subsidize. You know what I mean?
Not always, but
Not always, not always. You're right. But when most parents that you ask, they tell you, too much money. I can't afford that. Too much. This is one of the reasons why. So getting back to what we said, right? That the point is that the Rabbi Alav Shalom used to go door to door like this. Very active rabbi. This is what made him a perfect rabbi, because he cared for every Jew, Not just to say, oh, I care for you, I love you. Okay, so but what are you going to show me? How are you going to show me you love me, Don't just tell me you love me. How do you show me you love me? What are you going to do for me? Take my money only? That's it? That's the only thing you can do? What about to do something for me? What about to lift me up a little bit, to make me into a better Jew? Does that interest you? Right? Or just, so the rabbi used to go actively out like this, door to door. Which rabbi does this? Making house calls like this, house calls. Strangers, knocking on doors. And also it was a self-sacrifice to him, because it's hard to do this, to go around like this. Strangers, going into strange doors, knocking on strange people. You have to have a lot of courage for that, you understand? You have to be very courageous in the heart to go like this to strangers, and approach them like that. This is not an easy thing to do. But this, the rabbi was doing this for many, many years like this, gathering people up, all kinds of lost souls, bringing them into Judaism. And we were also from that group. What does that mean? He also helped us. You should know that most of the rabbis today who are in the positions of Rabbanut or Dayanut are the Tamidim of the Rabbi Alav Shalom. You know why? Because he trained many, many rabbis. He raised up many, many rabbis. But not only that, you know what attests to his greatness, right? That the biggest funeral in Israeli history, modern Israel, was the rabbi's funeral. How many people came there to the funeral of the rabbi? 1 million people came. You know what that means? It's about 1/5 of the Jewish people over there. This is unbelievable. I was there too. I almost got killed because it was so dangerous there. You can get trampled easily, One false move, you're on the floor, they trample you. Yeah, very dangerous. But nevertheless, I wanted to go with him all the way because I had so much appreciation. That what he did for us, what he did for us as students.
A lot of crying. Yeah.
I want to tell you also another thing, which is that the Rabbi Alav Shalom, the fact that he went into politics, and got elected into the Knesset with his shtichim, with his emissaries, this was not for politics. It wasn't for honor. So what did he do for these things? Because he wanted to start an education system, yeshivot. He needed funding for that, government funding. So in order to get the funding, he had to go into politics. You understand? Not personally him, but he was directing others to do it. That's the idea. So what happened was that because he went into this, he opened up a whole chain of schools, yeshivot, in the whole country. And thousands of people are being educated in Torah because of this system. Thousands of Jews are going and becoming Bnei Torah, becoming rabbis, becoming religious, becoming observant Jews. How is that? Because he cared about every Jew like that. He opened up a whole system of education in Eretz Israel. He himself also used to go lectures, give lectures all over the country. Even with a helicopter he used to go. Can you imagine? He used to take a helicopter. Fly over to Eilat, because Eilat is a long drive over there. You have to go drive over there. He used to fly with a helicopter and go give lectures over there. Fly over here, go over there, drive over there. There isn't one place in Eretz Israel he didn't go to give lectures over there. North, south, east, west, whatever it is, he went everywhere. And he also directed his students like that also, his sons, to go and lecture like that. From place to place. Because the point of being a rabbi, is to elevate the Jewish people. Not just to give yourself, some kavod or some money. The kavod will come, for sure, in the end. The money will also come. Everything will come. But that's not your job. Your job is to elevate the people. And then, everything else will come in its time and its place. Kevodo sofo lavo. That's what the Chachamim said, right? So kavod will come, the money will come, everything will come. So this is the way the rabbi was, Alav Shalom. But also, there's also another thing I want to tell you about the rabbi, Alav Shalom. That one of the great things he did was his scholarship. Scholarship was second to none, He was very famous for his scholarship. What does that mean? That he was a tremendous great learner, non-stop learner. How great was he in learning? I want to tell you just an example, right? It's a true story. I'll tell you a true story. When the rabbi was young, Alav Shalom, he was living in Jerusalem, and there was an electric power outage, in the neighborhood that he lived in. In Israel, this is very common. You get power outages. Like once a month you get one of those. Over there. Very common. Goes out for like a half hour, 15 minutes, comes back on. It's like this, right? So what happened was that power outage, because of that, the rabbi had no lights in his house. And he couldn't learn, because he was very bothered by that. So what did he do? In order that he should be able to learn, he went outside, to one of the lamp posts over there. Those were still on, like an emergency, So he went and he studied over there outside, outdoors, So what happened was that some rabbis passed by at night, and they saw him over there. They said, "Who is this guy over here, standing over here?" They said, "Oh, this is Rabbi Ovadia. He learns all day, all night, doesn't give up, So he says he's standing over here because there was a power outage. He was standing over there at night learning like that." So now, what's the punchline? That's not the punchline, right? Well, the punchline is like this, right? They say that these rabbis went to sleep, the ones who saw him, they woke up in the morning to go to Shachrit. They came back again, passed by there, the rabbi was still there. He was all night there, standing by the lamppost, studying Torah. Can you imagine something like this? This kind of devotion to Torah, this is like miraculous. It's something unbelievable. Another story I can tell you, very interesting story, right? Which I saw in one of the books, that one time, the Rabbi Shalom, he had an electrician who came over his house to fix some electric problems. So what happened was the electrician has to shut off the electricity in order to see, right, what's going on, right? Got to shut it off for a few seconds. So he comes and tells the rabbi, he says, "Listen, Rabbi," he says, "I'm sorry, but I got to shut off the electricity for like a few seconds to test." So the rabbi knew that if he was going to shut it off, there's no light to learn, So what did he do? He tells the electrician, he says, "Wait 1 second before you shut it off." He goes to the window, right, where there's over there the public lights, So he takes the book over there, sticks it out, So he's learning. So he says, "Okay, now shut it off." He said, even those few seconds that he shut it off, he didn't want to miss the learning. This is how great he was, right, in Hatmada, in his devotion to learning Torah. But because of this, Rabbatai, I want to tell you that because of the greatness that he had in Torah, he also made a very big tikkun, very big rectification into Torah. What does that mean, halacha? What does that mean? That there was many mistaken things in halacha that were written, all kinds of books, all kinds of mistaken customs that became entrenched in the communities. The rabbi removed all these customs, all the bad things. He weeded out all the bad stuff from them.
We can trust this.
Yeah, we have to trust it because he was our rabbi. He was the rabbi of the generation. Mm-hmm. So, because of that, what he did was he weeded out all the garbage, all the bad customs, all the mistakes, and he made our Torah into solet nekiah. What that means, it's like very clean, like clean flour, white flour, baguette flour.
Which parts of the Torah did he overhaul?
We're talking mainly in halacha.
Oh, halacha.
Yeah, halacha, because there was a lot of mistakes over there, customs, halacha, all kinds of things like this. There was all kinds of mistaken things going on. So the Rabbi Al Shalom, just about any question you have in halacha, you can find it in his book's answer. He wrote 54 books. It's unbelievable. Who writes 54 books in our generation? Such a thing like that. And all of them, like very, very powerful books. So if you look in those 54 books, you'll find an answer just about any question you have.
You read them, most of them?
We studied them, Baruch Hashem, We still have ways to go. You know what I mean?
Sorry.
No need to apologize.
I see.
So
you trust his...
not only I trust, but the whole world is trusting. This is the idea, So what I'm telling you is the Rabbi Al Shalom, he made the Torah now into something which is very, very easily obtained.
Who took his place?
Nobody can take his place. You think anybody can take his place?
No, but we
Yeah.
need a leader of...
Yeah, there are leaders, but on that level, there's nobody right now. For sure not. Not even close.
But did anybody... okay, maybe nobody took his place on his level, but is there a replacement for him?
What we're doing now, you know what it is? We're just learning his Torah. And we still have a long ways to go to understand everything he wrote.
I see.
His son took his place.
Right. Technically speaking, yes. But realistically speaking, he cannot fill his shoes.
Where did
Yeah.
he get his...
Not the same thing.
Where did he get his
Knowledge.
the wisdom from, or the knowledge, to alter these things that were wrong? So
Very good question. You know what the answer is? In his library, he had the biggest library in the world. 50,000 books he had. And he knew all of them. He learned all of them. This was something unbelievable. This is miraculous. Yeah, it's unbelievable talent. That these books, by the way, they couldn't even fit into his house. So he had like 5 locations in Jerusalem where the books were spread out. He couldn't fit into one house, these books, obviously. So he had 5 locations, each location with a library there. And he would go and send people and bring me this one, bring me that one, if he needed it. You know what I mean? This is the way it was.
Jimmy, maybe we need these postal locations so we can park all our cars there. All the cars that we park. We can't fit everything.
$50,000.
In his lifetime.
Talking about the cars or the books?
He learned, yeah, he didn't write those, but he learned, he was using them. He was
You know,
using
it's easy
them
to store
to
50,000
find the
books.
truth.
And he knew he read
Yeah,
all of it.
50,000 cars.
Right.
Yes.
This is unbelievable.
Much easier.
Means no sleep from the day to night, no sleep at all.
Right, exactly. That's the idea. So Rabbatai, I want to tell you that Maran was something unbelievable. He was a miraculous person. His strengths were miraculous. One of the funny things, I don't want to keep you too long, but one of the funny...
Can you spell his name, Rabbi? I wanted to look at
Ovadia Yosef.
I'm sorry?
Ovadia Yosef. Ovadia.
Ovadia Yosef.
So, yeah, so famous rabbi. So, I want to tell you one of the funny things about the rabbi. One of the funny things. The funny thing was about the rabbi. He liked to joke around, by the way. The rabbi. He liked to kid around. Yeah. He had a good sense of humor. So one of the things he used to do was he used to give everybody smacks. Nobody got spared from him. Whoever was in his vicinity has been hit already. Has been punched out. Right. was knockout. TKO. TKO. So the question always was, why does the rabbi do these things? Why does he smack people? We never heard any rabbi who does this. This was unprecedented. How do you just go out and smack somebody like that? And why? So one time his son asked him, about this. One of his sons asked him. He says, Rabbi, he says, Abba says, why do you smack people like this? What's the reason why you do this? By the way, he used to do it also with the prime ministers as well. Bibi, he used to get smacked. Bibi used to go over there, like this. Sharon, like that. He didn't spare anybody. He didn't care about nobody. So he asked him, and the rabbi didn't answer him. But I personally also was. I also got my share. Believe me when I tell you. One time, I was there in the office. I went with my wife there, and my wife had a question. Maran, yeah, right. So
he doesn't look like the character that I imagined.
He was.
He looks like a very charming guy.
He was. He had that perfect balance between love and or strength also. Like he was iron. Iron fist.
Fanatic.
He was. How? By the way, his hands. His heart was like a heart of gold, but his hands were iron hands. Like iron fist, like George Foreman. You know what I mean? He was like he had the hands of a boxer.
What descent was
So, Iraqi.
Oh, he was Iraqi.
Yeah.
Was
So
it
what happened?
Big Mac?
Double. So what happened was right that one time I'll tell you a funny story. Right, one time I went in there with my wife, and my wife had a question. That's why we went there. The question was about her name, to change the name or no, whatever, something like that. So the rabbi answered us, gave us a good, straight answer. So what happened was that in the end, once the answer was given, so one of the secretaries over there told the rabbi, he says, "Oh, do you know this boy?" He says, "He's talking about me." He says, "He's learning in our yeshiva. Do you know him? He's in your yeshiva." So the rabbi got excited. When he heard that, he used to get excited. He was one of those people get routed. So what he did was he gave me a nice big one. Like this, like this. So it came from the side. I didn't see it. It almost knocked my head off like this. Like this. So the question was, why did he give people a smack like this? Nobody got spared, by the way. Nobody got spared. Everybody got it. So after thinking about it, the answer was very clear. That there's a saying, Rabbi Nachman Breslev, one of the big Hasidic rabbis, right? Rabbi Nachman Breslev. You know what he says, right? Rabbi Nachman Breslev says something very wise. He says that if a person wants to be spared from being judged above in heaven, they should judge him over here. Let him be judged over here. So therefore, he used to say like this, right? If a person did a sin, right, he should judge himself and spare his, because if he does, they won't judge him up there. Once they judge over here, they won't judge him up there. This is something very smart. So what does that mean? A person should say like this: if he did a sin, right? What should he do? He should say, you know what? Because I did the sin, right? I'm not gonna eat ice cream for a month. I'm not gonna drink wine for a month. No alcohol for a month. I'm punishing myself. Giving you an example, right? It can be anything. Once the person does that, they don't punish him anymore because he was judged over here. You understand? They cannot punish him in two places, right? Either here or there, right? You can't have your cake and eat it too. That's the idea. So this is exactly what the rabbi was doing, Shalom. By giving them these smacks over here, he was saving them from being punished above. I'm sure about that. There's no question about it. You know why? Because the rabbi, when he would see people, he had Ruach HaKodesh, divine inspiration. You know, he knew that the person had some sins. He could see that on him.
Everybody has.
You know? Yeah, but he could see that. You know, everybody has, but not everybody can see that. So the rabbi, if he would see something, you know, that person needs, he's going to be punished from above. He would tell him, "I'll save you." You know, that's it. That's it. You're absolved. So the rabbi, everything he did was chesed. You know, everything was kindness. I want to finish with also one other thing, which is very, very important, very crucial. The rabbi used to call us into his house, you know, and give lectures to us privately, because we were his talmidim, we were his disciples. So one of the things he used to stress to us always was like this. He used to tell us, this generation is not built for stringencies, you know. So he told us, you have to be as lenient as possible in the generation. It's a very flimsy generation, very flimsy people. They cannot tolerate stringencies. So whatever the halacha allows, as far as it goes, the halacha stretches, give them as far as it goes. Don't be stringent with them and tell them, oh, you know, do like the Ben Ish Chai, do like this, the Hasidim, do like this. No. This generation is not built for that. He knew the generation was weak. He knew who he was dealing with. So therefore he told us, he warned us, you know, be as lenient as possible with them. Don't add anything to the Torah, just go, right, bare bones with the people. And people have to understand that, you know why? Because today there are some people who like to be stringent, you know, and tell people, you know, go and jump in the lake, you know, and then come out, and you know, this, can jump in the other lake, and then jump in the ocean. Give me a break, man, you know, I can't live like that. Give me something I can deal with. Give me a program that I can fulfill. You understand? So the rabbi was very, very, very much, he used to always tell us, what does that mean? The strength of the leniency is better than the strength of the stringency. So be as lenient as possible on the people. You know, one of the rabbis, I spoke to him about this over here. You know what he told me? We had a discussion about something he was objecting against people here. So I told him, I said, you know, what they're doing is actually allowed. I explained to him why it's allowed. So you know what he told me? The rabbi answered me. He says, you know, if I allow them to them, they'll do even more. So I said, you know what? We don't have any permission to add stringencies today in our generation. The poskim already wrote, the authorities. We cannot add new stringencies because you think, oh, you know, if you allow this, they'll do that. We have no power to add these kinds of things. So therefore, the rabbi's advice was always like this, you know, don't add to them all kinds of things. You should know, by the way, that Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, one of the great rabbis of our generation, he also stressed this. You know what he said? He said, just like a rabbi is punished for telling people something which is forbidden, that is permitted, he's punished for that. He's causing them to sin. He's also punished for telling them something which is permitted, that is forbidden. Because you're giving them tsar, you know, you're making their life hard. Why give them so much pain? Why make them suffer? If it's allowed, tell them it's allowed. Say the truth. You don't have to add anything. You know, there's nothing to add. The rabbis already added everything. There's nothing to add anymore. Just tell them the truth. Tell them the bare bones halakha. This is what the rabbis told us. So this legacy, you know, that they gave us, there's much more to discuss. We'll be here until morning if I told you everything. But nevertheless, we have to understand that this great man, who was like Moshe Rabbeinu, I guarantee you. You know, they say, right, the Chazal, they say that every generation has one leader, you know, who's Gilgul, he's a reincarnation of Moshe Rabbeinu. He was this leader. No question about it. He was Moshe Rabbeinu. You know, the people used to ask me, was the rabbi Mashiach ben Yosef or Mashiach ben David? I told them, I don't know, but I can tell you he's Moshe Rabbeinu. That I know. You know, that's for sure, right? You know, the truth is, right, there's no difference. You know why? Because the Zohar Kadosh says, Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David, Moshe Rabbeinu, it's really one neshama. It's one person. It's one neshama. What does that mean? It says Zohar Kadosh, Moshe Rabbeinu is really Mashiach. And the right hand is Mashiach ben David, left hand is Mashiach ben Yosef. So really it's one big complex neshama. So really there's nothing to discuss, right? But for me, he was Moshe Rabbeinu. And you know, this is when the rabbi used to give lectures, one person commented one time, you know what he said? Simple Jew. Listening to the lecture, you know what he said? He says, I feel like we're on Mount Sinai, you know, like we're on Har Sinai. And it was true, you know, when we were studying Torah with the rabbi, we felt like we were on Har Sinai. That's the way it was. Because we felt like we're getting from Moshe Rabbeinu the Torah. The clarity, the knowledge was so great. Nothing was unclear. Everything was 100%. And more so. 110%. So we felt like we were on Har Sinai, you know, we were learning 15 years, Baruch Hashem, we were Zocher to sit with the rabbi. 15 years. You know? like that, living in his neighborhood, going to his house, praying in his synagogue, hearing his lectures. You cannot replace such a thing like that. This was Moshe Rabbeinu. So Hashem should give us, his zechut should be guard on the Jewish people, and we should be zochet to be at HaMashiach b'mehera v'yaminu amen amen. Chazak u'baruch. Thanks for coming.